Hello guys, my name is NaToSaphiX and today we have another video, and this time it is the FACEIT cheat code once again. The video series where I explain to you what is the number one biggest mistake that people make in FACEIT. Now I want to tell you guys, currently I'm ill with the big Rona, so Corona. And yeah, if you hear any coughing or sniffling or sneezing or whatever, just ignore it, okay? But I'm trying to do my best to push out content for you guys. So I want to talk in this episode about a kind of CSGO theory that we employed during my time in Nordavind. And the theory is that if you play a game of CS, there's almost always a go-to thing that's the easiest to do. So like on Mirage, maybe it would be rushing A, you know? That's why you mono A. You mono A slope at the start of almost every round because you want to make sure that the T's don't just immediately rush up. The same on nuke. You Molotov door and sometimes you even Molotov hot as well. So you mono both. Plus you use probably a molo or a smoke on ramp from the start of the round. So there's actually on nuke a lot of sort of easy things you can do. And that brings us to Overpass. Every map has a part of the map that is the most sought after and the one used the most. It's the easiest. On Inferno, for example, we have it also with Banana, a heavily contested part of the map, and I think we can all agree that going B is much easier than going A with their multiple angles and all those kind of things. So, if you ask yourself the question, what part of Overpass is the most easy to use? I would argue that that part of the map is Monster. And that's what we're going to be talking about today in the FACEIT cheat code. We're going to be talking about how to close down Monster, because if you block Monster at the start of rounds, you give yourself a much better chance at winning it. And it also allows your B rotation player to move much more freely. So first of all, I want to show you a smoke. You might know it already. I'm on 128 tick, so this is for FACEIT, not for matchmaking. I crouch and sit behind this, and then I aim at this part of this pole sticking out, like here. And then I do a regular jump throw. This one goes over, hits the bridge, and bounces down. So this is probably a smoke you should have your B rotation player do every single round. This will deter the T's from coming through this, and it will also allow your B player, your monster player, to come down and spam this smoke at the start of the round if he gets blind, for example, or even just go and check, are there anyone through? Okay, no one's through. Fair enough, we've pretty much blocked Monster. Now, if you want to block Monster really hard, if you have a feeling that they're going to be rushing, you could follow this up with a Molotov in here. You could also bounce it, I think, on this back wall. But what I actually just used to do in Complexity, when I was playing Stand in there, and now the time I was playing Monster, was I would smoke, or I would get someone to smoke this for me. I would take the Heaven running pattern, because that's the fastest to Monster. Then I would run here. I would throw this flash, turn around again, and then I could spam if they were coming. They should hopefully be blind. Most of the time I would also be blind, because the T's would be flashing up here. But with this smoke, it's hard for the T's to kill you, and now even more so that you have a silenced M4. So simply by smoking here, you make sure that Monster is blocked pretty much. But you have to be careful, because you have to at least clear this space. So let me show you how that works. If you just smoke, the T's might be going into the pipe, or they might be standing here, and then they might get flashes in the back, and they might explode. So what you want to do at the start of every single round, if you're the Monster player, it doesn't have to be every single round, but every single sort of default round, if you don't have a specific plan where you're going out short with a teammate or something like that, you want to come here and you want to block this space. So you want to just clear it, make sure no one's here. Then you can now either play left side Monster, or you can play in the side, or you can play up on the gel. You can actually play a ton of different angles, but you will never be able to play left side Monster if this is not smoked, unless you get run boosted over and stuff, and it's, again, making the game much harder for yourself. So by smoking this, you really get a lot of control. Now, the biggest mistake I see people make is, first of all, people not buying smokes on B. Now, buying a smoke on B is so crucial. It's kind of like Inferno. If you run out of smokes on this side, it's almost impossible to hold. you will have to be really good players, and you will have to have a really good understanding of OVERPASS, and most people with FACEIT are not able to kind of freestyle that. So that's why I'm trying to teach you sort of the easiest way to play CT, and what you shouldn't do. So make sure always to buy smokes. And with that, I notice a lot of people, when I'm playing B rotation, for example, we have one guy maybe playing towards monster, and then we have one guy playing towards short. And the short player, if the T's use any utility on short, he will smoke this off. Now, this smoke is, I guess, kind of okay, because you're blocking the T's from looking into the side. But the problem with this smoke is, especially when you do it early round, that the T's can boost up here and stand kind of in one way. And now they have big advantage on water, on barrels, on like almost any angle. If the B rotation is playing from heaven, maybe watching a short boost, he can kill him now, and all those things. So honestly, smoking short is not as big of a positive thing as you may think it is, because it makes it so that every one of your teammates have to be way more careful when rotating inside the side. Like, you can imagine if there's a smoke here and I'm B rotation and I want to come close monster, I have to cross this angle many times, and it can be so difficult for me to see this guy who will have big advantage on me. So I would definitely recommend using this smoke a whole lot less. The only real use this smoke has is if it's late round, maybe with 40 seconds left or something like that, you can smoke this off. You could, for example, play behind it. Or if you know, like, now the T's have to be rushing in, or maybe they smoke heaven and you feel like, okay, now it's time to go, you could maybe use it, but I think it's very situational, and I will show you just a billion better ways to use it. So what you want to be doing is you want to re-smoke monster instead of using this smoke. And honestly, all three smokes on B should go for this. So like, the B rotation uses his smoke from the start of the round, the monster guy can use it at a later time, and then the short guy can use it also at a later time. And the reason for that is, it's honestly pretty simple, but it's possible you guys have not really thought in these avenues, I guess. So when you come out of monster, you can peek this angle, and no one will be holding this, but they might be shoulder peeking, and you can try to spam, you know. Then you have to peek this angle, so that's 2 angles, 3 angles, 4 angles, 5, and 6. But when I'm clearing these angles, I can clear them all one by one, you see? The only one that I have to worry about is this one. But I'm only going to have to worry about that if this guy gets a flash in his back, or if he just randomly peeks. And if he randomly peeks, honestly, it's a bad play by him, because then next time you can just maybe take an AWP and sit and hold here when the smoke fades. And if he gets a flash, then, you know, it's just on timing. That can happen. But mainly, most of the time, you don't have to worry so much about this, and you can clear each angle one at a time. You can even clear all the way out here and now turn. Then you can start clearing barrels. Then you can clear maybe the barrels off angle. Then you clear water headshot angle, dildo, other side of dildo. You can clear all these angles one by one, and you only really have to be worried about the angle that you're peeking whenever you're peeking it. You can really clear them one by one. That's why going out monster is so strong. Plus, you have the benefit of when you go out, you now only have to look one way. So the sort of spread of crosshair you have to have is like a 45-degree angle, basically. It's not very big. So you always have whoever you're fighting in your vision. Now, this is why a lot of people will contact out monster if you don't smoke them off. And this is why you have to do it, basically. Because there's not so many good angles down here where you can hold from. Almost every angle down here can just be flashed with a simple flash like this. I'll even show you. On the shadow, middle of this, jump throw. And this flash, no matter where you stand, even if you're standing completely close here, you will get full blind. So it's not super safe to be playing down in this space alone, basically. And that's why we want to get this smoked. And I will show you also a setup you can run at a later time. Super simple one that will make you win a lot more rounds on B. But anyway, when you come out monster, it's just such easy fights, basically, for the T. So he will want to do this if you allow him to. And that's why you need to block it with smokes most of the time, if not all. So if we take short as an example, which is what I see a lot of people smoking, you can peek this angle. That's pretty advantage because you again have like some wood you can wallbang if he tries to go back. Then you peek this angle. Then you peek this angle. And I mean, at any time someone could peek here, it's kind of the same as monster, but this is way more likely to happen than someone just shoulder peeking monster randomly, or wide swinging monster. The funny thing starts though from short when you start peeking the next angle. When you peek water, now you open yourself up to 2 angles at once, which never happens at monster basically. And there's obviously still the potential of someone swinging, so it's a little bit like monster, you have someone swinging from the one side while you're clearing the other, but now you have 2 angles. And it gets even worse when you go in. So now I clear maybe the sandbags, I clear heaven off angle, I clear the water, and all the time this guy could peek if he's playing barrels, you know. When you start moving in here, now you peek this, someone could peek from water, from here, or from barrels. And it gets worse the further you go. So if you actually try to move into the side, now a guy could be holding from ABC passive. Or if you're trying to peek the ABC guy or trying to cross here, now the guy's monster who are holding like this, they will have you in their view. Even this guy will be able to see you. So when you move in from short, the crosshair spread I talked about before is basically 180 degrees. And the chances of you looking here and flicking 180 degrees and killing this guy before he kills you, it's basically 0. So I hope that kind of proves that just contacting in from short is way more difficult. Now, if you play against a pro team, if you're like a competitive esports player, you want to try to play at the top level, what teams will be doing if you start blocking monster really heavy is they will probably start going close short and flashing, and you will have to find a way to deal with that as well. I could cover that obviously in a future video if that's something that you would like, but most people in FACEIT are not capable of doing these things because there's a lot of people that are solo queue, and as said, because there's so many more angles, there's so much more you have to think about, and with that, it makes it a much harder thing to pull off. And people in FACEIT tend to want to do the easy thing, because the easy thing is the one that's the most rewarding. If it's easy, you are more likely to succeed if you try it many times. So, when you go out monster, there's basically one running pattern, and that's across, you know. When you come short, there's many running patterns. You can try to make it over bridge and clear water fast, or peek barrels. You can try to swing around the pillar and try to clear close monster. You can go down this way and try to peek pillar this way, or wanting to go on a ramp. There's like at least 3 different running patterns, and again, there's just way more decisions you have to make. So bad players will mess this up, basically. It's a much harder and more complex decision to go out short, which is why you need to stop smoking this. Because if they walk out short and are contacting in here, this should almost always be your advantage. There's so many angles where you can kill this guy from, and at most he will kill one. Whereas the monster guy, if you allow him to come out and create the space, he might kill the barrels guy, or he might not get contact here at all. He can crouch out, start taking space, and he will say like, monster's clear, or more people will be gathering up here in the monster pipe. If you learn how to block monster effectively, people will start going short. But going short without flashes, which most people will do in FACEIT, is not really that great of a play. So stop using your smoke here. I really have to say it's so hard. This makes me lose so many FACEIT games, and it's very frustrating. Instead, just use your smoke on monster. You can do it from close, of course. You can do it from far. I even have some lineup, which is super simple. You go in here, you crouch, put your crosshair here, you stand up, and then this goes and hits the bridge. If you're further away, I know that there's like a million, I don't know the lineup exactly, but it's something like going in here and aiming here and jump throwing. A little bit above, I guess, something like that. Might be this one. You can probably find a lineup. I don't have this one. I know there's also one where you go here, you aim at like this window or something like that. I don't exactly know all the lines. Okay, this one actually worked. But there's a million places you can smoke monster from, so don't let that be an excuse. Just go and find some lineups that work for you. I've shown you quite a few now, and use your smokes on monster instead. Now the last and final thing I want to show you is just a monster setup that again will make you win a lot more rounds. So what you want to be doing is you want to, as we talked about, get a smoke here in the pipe from spawn. You as the monster player, you go throw this flash, turn around again, on the right timing of course. Then you now have monster, You can play left side like this, or you can even jump up on the jail. I believe if you go in the middle of 2 of these poles, you run and jump crouch, you get stuck instantly, so that's also a nice little tip. Then when you sit here, if you have a teammate who's simply standing like this, then if they flash out monster, this guy can swing and kill them when they're in the pipe, which is really insanely strong. So if they kill you, he will always kill them, and maybe sometimes more than one. And if they start walking in short, now this guy has an off angle where whoever walks in short will probably be busy watching something else and be turning too late. So not only is he dodging flashes, but he's actually holding the one other thing that the T's will be most likely doing on B from a very, very advantageous angle. And so if you manage to block monster, which is what this whole video has been about, by resmoking this, and you play this setup, I promise you, you will win a lot more rounds on T side. And if more people would understand this on CT side overpass, so that this was kind of an expectation you had of people in solo queue, I promise you CT sides would get much better. Then you're forcing the T's to go somewhere else. You're forcing them to go A, which again is much harder, much more complex. You need more flashes, you need more decisions. Do you want to go banana? Do you want to go toilets? Do you want to go long toilets? Do you want to go long? Do people even know the smokes? Do they know good entry flashes? Do they know how to push an AWPer off the angle? It's way more difficult than just walking out monster. And that is why you want to make sure to block what's the easiest for the T's, and that is going monster. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please leave a like and a comment and subscribe if you haven't already. My name is NaToSaphiX, and I will be back with another video very soon, I hope. Thank you so much for watching.